SML and the GRA deal. This is the response that the presidency has for the Media Foundation for West Africa's request. We put it on the screen right now. The president made reference to a number of provisions within the Right to Information Act. Manasseh Azuri-Awone is joining us on Zoom in a bit. Just a quick comment on this matter. The presidency says exempt information for the president or the vice president, Section 5 of the RTI. 1. Information is exempt from disclosure where the information is prepared for submission or has been submitted to the president or vice president for consideration. Or B, contains matters the disclosure of which would also reveal information concerning opinion, advice, deliberation, recommendation, minutes, or consultation made or given to the president or the vice president is likely to undermine the deliberative process on the part of the president or the vice president. Manasseh Azuri will be joining us on Zoom in a bit on this. But I'll start off with you, Lawyer Martin Pebu. This position taken by the president, he makes reference to the clear dictates of the law, reason why he declined this RTI request. What's wrong with that? Quickly.
Read the law.
What do you mean?
Absolutely. It's such a shame. Eh?
What do you mean by the law was misread?
We'll show you section 17 of the law and other sections that require that he should disclose. So that part that he read, that section 5, he didn't even finish it. But let's go to 17. 17 makes it clear that in cases like this, where there is a bit of evidence of crime, etc., you must disclose. You must disclose. So the president, I'm sure they did this to just prolong the debate whilst they are testing our pulse. So Professor Jampo, please come very hard on them. Maybe we should have a demonstration on this matter. Perhaps if you do, then...
have demonstration.
No, let's demonstrate. I don't like it because I'm in school, so now I'm constrained.
Okay, gentlemen.
We have to demonstrate on this matter.
So, Council, what do you mean?
Don't do that.
Oh, because 2016,
wait.
they published the GRA report.
Okay.
Is there any wonder why President Kufuor's best mark on corruption so far is 43, which is the worst mark GM got? That's why I voted for Kufuor. Pa Graves, I voted for Kufuor because he looked tough. They said no nonsense. He's brutal. He will deal with corruption ruthlessly. It turned out that Mahama is stronger than him. You see where my anger is coming from? At 73, you come in and for 7.5 years, you have no balls to fight corruption. You see why I keep saying this guy should resign?
Oh, so what's the issue?
No.
Council,
what money? And then he's hounding them out of office.
Council.
He hounded Domlevo out of office. We had to go to Supreme Court. And by the time Supreme Court gave the decision, it was too late. Look at this. So 17 says that despite a provision of this act on information exempt from disclosure, information is not exempt from disclosure if the disclosure of the information reveals evidence of a contravention of or a failure to comply with a law. In this report, you see so. B, an imminent and serious threat to public safety, public health, or morals, the prevention of disorder or crime, or the protection of the rights or freedoms of others. I think this also applies, protecting the public purse. C, a miscarriage of justice. Then let me skip D and come. E, any other matter of public interest. And the benefits of disclosure clearly outweigh the harm or danger the disclosure will cause. In this particular case, it's very clear that the benefits of disclosure would outweigh the harm. What is the harm? The harm, and it is not actual harm, it's the shame it is going to bring to President Kufuor's own family because his brother, Ufuriata, is neck deep in this contract. So it's the family. He's trying to protect his family's honor at the expense of the whole nation. Is this a good cap loss?
So are you saying that the decision based on Section 5, as the presidency stated in their statement, refusing this RTI request, is not consistent with law?
At all. Let's go to 5.
How?
Even when you go to 5, you see that he just read, they just dealt with it partly.
Okay.
It doesn't apply. Look, 5, it says that the information is exempt where the information is prepared for submission or has been submitted to the president or vice president for consideration. Or B, contains matters, the disclosure of which will reveal information concerning opinion, advice, deliberation, recommendation, minutes, or consultations made or given to the president, blah, blah, blah. And it's likely to undermine, so you see the thing, it's joined. It says, and it's likely to undermine the deliberative
process.
Which process is ongoing now? It's an audit report. That's why you hear Professor Kweku Asari saying, no, he doesn't agree also. Which deliberative process is ongoing? It's a report. You've gone through the report. What I asked for a few weeks ago was that, give all the people the opportunity to respond, the 30 days notice, 30 days period, as done under the Ghana Audit Service, their law. That's it. But now that is done, which deliberative process is ongoing? Look, this is just a ruse to cover the president's family. He's trying to cover Ofuriata because Ofuriata is the one who extended the contract. He's the one who has been part of this. And let's add this. Look, I think the parliamentarians must stand up, the MPP parliamentarians. Because you know what? If you look at what is happening now and what the president is doing, when Nixon was resigning, please, the MPs must hear this message. When President Nixon was resigning, he said he was resigning because he no longer had a strong enough base in Congress. Nixon resigned because the parliamentarians in the US no longer supported him, so he couldn't continue. Can you imagine, even if we get 5 MPs saying that, listen, they will not work with the president's agenda anymore.
But
you see what
guess what? Yes, we had 98 of them at some point. So let me bring Manasseh. Let me acknowledge Manasseh Azuri, who is the former editor-in-chief of the Fourth Estate. He led the team at the Fourth Estate in this GRA SML investigation. He's joining us from the Harvard University in the United States, where he is studying. Manasseh, it's good to have you. Good morning from Ghana.
Good morning, Alfred.
I know it's at dawn where you are. Thank you for even accepting to speak to us. You should have been sleeping by now, but it's a disappointment for you, is it not, that your request for the full KPMG report on this audit report on this GRA SML deal has been denied by the president, specifically stating the provisions of the Right to Information Act?
Well, it is more than a disappointment to me. And I think with the legal side, I have listened to Martin Pebu, who has dealt very well with it. The disappointment comes in many ways. One, it does not promote transparency. That same act the president quoted also encourages voluntary disclosure, so that he shouldn't have even waited for a request to be made. This RTI law, in my view, is one of the very few bright spots in the Akufo-Addo administration. Apart from the repeal of the criminal libel law, this is an initiative that for me gives meaning to journalism, and not just the he said, she said journalism, but journalism that matters. If this law were allowed to work, we would have the media, those that are committed to doing critical journalism, doing the work very well. Unfortunately, those that promoted this law are not prepared to use it. I say this because the IEA, for instance, was one of the civil society organizations that for 20 years led and spearheaded the passage of this law. The very first institution that was taken to court for not complying with the Right to Information law was the Electoral Commission, headed by the woman who was at IEA pushing for the passage of this law. The second is the president, who should also take credit for this law. But this is not the only time I have tried a law at the presidency and failed. In fact, I've never been able to get information using this law at the presidency. There was a time the president traveled to Germany. After that, he was to go to Rwanda and other places. And Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa made a comment that he went on a private jet. And the presidency released a long statement saying it wasn't true. They mentioned the flight number, the airline, and then from Germany, he would go to this place on this flight, and they put out all the itinerary. Now, I wrote to the presidency asking for information on previous travels, not just the itinerary, but I wanted to know the cost of those travels using a private jet. They claimed it was national security information, so it was exempt from disclosure. The question is, if you don't have a problem disclosing where you will be, the flight number, the airline you are using, and everything, disclosing that ahead of the travel, how does information about the cost you incurred in previous travels endanger your security? So this comes to add to a long list of refusals from the office of the president. And I think this is very injurious to our democracy. In 2013, I did investigation on the youth employment scandal, the JIDA scandal. The MPP at the time, led by President Akufo-Addo, said Mahama, that's President Mahama's white paper on the JIDA scandal, was not enough. The president actually cancelled all the JIDA contracts except one. There was a law that was passed. 2 people went to jail for that. Dozens lost their jobs, but they were not satisfied. They said, look, you have to release the report. President Mahama released that report. It is on the internet today. If you Google the full JIDA report, you'll find it there. So if we didn't have a law that helped us to enforce our rights, and even at the time, we had a president who would go to the extent of releasing the full report. Now, not only do we have a law, but a president who passed that law, the one who told us back in 2016 that he was a stickler to the rule of law, a defender of press freedom and everything, is now there and thinks that a report which he claims has, that he's giving out the details of what is important and all of that in the report. What else is stopping him from putting this report out there?
Right.
And I agree perfectly. The treatment of this scandal, some of us knew that it was going to face setbacks because the president's cousin, that's Ken Ofori-Atta, normally they say it's a GRA contract, GRA SML contract. If you look at the letter that occasioned the over $100 million a year contract, it was from the finance ministry. And then that letter said the finance minister, who was Ken Ofori-Atta, had determined that this should be done. So the principal actor in this deal is the president's cousin.
Right.
But he is the president of Ghana and not the president of his family. So he should release that report. I don't think when he was opposition leader Akufo-Addo, KPMG would have done that report for him.
Right.
The power he wills belongs to those of us. And I still remember he begging us to vote for him because we have the power. So that report is for Ghanaians. And I think the president must release it.
And I'll say thank you. Palgrave, on this, why are you refusing to release the report?
So I think that is he the one keeping it?
Well, it's a difficulty representing the government at various stages. But really, I think that
we'll tell them that they make it difficult representing them.
Yes.
I think that it's important that we put the situations in context for me. The president asked GRA to cease SML from operating, if you recall, and their contract was halted, and asked KPMG to do an audit of businesses that they had done over the period. And the report came to the presidency. The president reviewed the report issued a position paper on it and gave 4 recommendations. And I'm sure that the Ghanaian people are aware of that. In the request from Media Foundation for West Africa, and I'm very certain that the president has a lot of respect for journalists and for media personnel, and especially for the fifth realm of the estate, because it is his presidency that has brought about the RTI, and we must credit that to him as well. But in the last but one paragraph of the president's response to Media Foundation for West Africa, it says that the full KPMG report comprises opinions, advice, deliberations, and recommendations that are integral to the president's deliberative process, and therefore qualifies an exempt information under the various sections that lawyer Martin Pebu has elucidated about. But really stated that understanding the public interest in the GRA SML contract, the president has published the principal findings, which is what was published a while ago when he gave the position and gave the recommendations as well. Okay. That the principal findings and recommendations of the KPMG report is in a detailed press statement issued by the Office of the President on the 24th of April 2024.
Right.
And thus the public remains informed while respecting the statutory restrictions on the specific disclosures. I really think that, when you are involved in state work and you state like my friend in Harvard is stating that Kenneth Oriata is heavily dipped into this. I think that those statements, we should refrain from those statements, because there is no evidence of the former Minister for Finance, the Honorable Kenneth Oriata, being involved neck deep in SML's contract or even owning SML.
Say you don't know.
I hear all these things, and I don't think the fact that you see, if you look at the specific KPIs that SML was given in it, you realize that they have even saved a lot more money for this country. Really, I think that.
Thank you.
I think it's important that we state that. But I want to state emphatically that Kenneth Oriata has no dealings with SML. He does not own SML. He has no relation whatsoever with SML. And I think that is.
So, do you support the call for the report to be released?
I support the recommendations that the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has given in the statement when the KPMG brought out the report, and I also support the fact that the president has stated that the report comprises the report comprises opinions, advice, deliberations, and recommendations that are integral to the president's deliberative processes. It's not everything that comes to the presidency that you would want to make public, and everybody on this panel should know that. That is not everything that can be made public. And so the parts that must be made public is what the president has made public.
For example, yes.
What they have said.
Well, all right. So for me, I am unabashedly glued to my widely articulated position on this SML deal. But that aside, I honestly do not see why the President of the Republic would refuse to release the entire report. When some of us wrote publicly to him, compelling them to even come to acknowledge that they have received the report and they were studying the report, we also urged him that as a matter of public interest, the entire report would have to be released for the consumption of the good people of Ghana. And so I honestly do not see why the president would not want to do that. Refusing to release the report, for me, is an unnecessary show of power. It's an unnecessary show of power, typical of power drunks. People who are power drunk would want to show power unnecessary. Kleptomaniacs, they steal things that are unnecessary. They steal things that they don't need. In the same way, power drunks, they try to show power even where the show of power is not needed.
Right.
And so if you've been able to bring out bits and pieces of the report and commented on, and then if clearly, as we've been made to know, And as some of us also believe to some extent, there are much things about the deal that will have to be known to the public. And it to be in the interest of transparency, and we all subscribe to the tenets of transparency. Then
Right.
I do not see why the president, who is touted as one of the leaders who ideally should have been better schooled in terms
Right.
of the dogmas of democracy. I don't see why he wouldn't want to do things that will promote transparency. And so I respectfully urge the president that, look, this one is not for you alone. It's a matter of public interest. And
Thank you.
if predecessors did that, he should do same.
Right. We have a lot of the stories from this program on 3news.com. If you put the on 3news.com, you'll find it there. That's it. And I crave your indulgence. Kofi Adams, thank you so much for his MMP for Boem constituency. Thank you indeed. Also to you, Kofi. Also, indeed. Also to you, Lawyer Martin Pebu. Thank you very much for joining us. Pagwe Boachidankwa, thank you. And also Professor Ransford Jampo, thank you very much. Adam Senano and Manasseh Azura Wone, thank you. And I have a letter from the Ministry of Finance on this issue of Kenafoyata.